Mum, have a seat.
What is it?
So the reason I called you over, I wanted to tell you something.
Oh, by the way, the other day I was bragging about you to Susie auntie, and she asked me what you're earning now. How much is it now?
What? How is that? No, listen, I have to tell you something. Just listen for 1 minute.
Yeah, I've been waiting, haven't I? You're the one who isn't talking.
Okay, so basically, I'm having a really hard time the past few months. I'm always tired and I seem to have no energy. And sometimes I can't even seem to find the will to get out of bed and start the day.
Ah, well, you just need a good night's sleep then. Fine. So tonight I'll make you some warm milk, and then you go straight to bed. And if you can't get up tomorrow, I will wake you up. Okay? Deal?
No, what? No, listen, that's not it. It's just that, Mum, constantly, I just feel so stressed and drained. There's always something new, something to settle, something to take care of, something to worry about. I feel like I'm burning out. So I was thinking, I should maybe start seeing a therapist?
Wait, are you hurting somewhere, child?
No, I mean, kinda. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think I'm depressed.
Depressed? You mean sad? Why? What do you have to be sad about? Thank goodness you're pretty and fair. We send you to a good uni, a good education, a good job, and you've got looks.
But Mum, you don't understand. I've been feeling this way for so long now and I can't take it anymore. I don't know what to do. Sometimes I don't even have the strength to eat or drink or even talk or even breathe. I feel so empty.
Okay. And you've tried Netflix and chill? Doesn't that help? It always works like a charm for me.
Mum, Jesus, please stop. No.
Okay. Listen. Why don't we come to an agreement? A compromise. So listen, you know Abdul? Masai's Abdul? So he was like you, felt burned out or something. Basically just very sad. Kept crying all day long, poor child. But then they sent him to this place. And now he came back as good as new. Even engaged now, God bless him.
What? What kind of place is that?
Okay. So it's this place called the Diacept. Depression is a social construct, ethnic parents therapy camp.
Huh? Depression is the what? What the hell is that? Feeling down? Feel like you can't feel or express happiness anymore? Do exciting events seem mundane and unappealing? Then you are probably depressed. No need to worry, we are here to hold your hand through it. No more interfering harsh medication, tedious and intrusive therapists, or outdated electroconvulsive therapy. At Diacept, we offer a top-of-the-range therapy course that is modern, pioneering, and most importantly, foolproof, boasting a 100% success rate, fully approved and recommended by several certified doctors, healers, and shamans.
We offer productive, detailed, and elaborate studying classes, works in the fresh air, balanced diet prepared by our in-house chef, comforting talks with our own Auntie G, and prayer sessions to get rid of any bad juju.
All of this and more for only £1,000, guaranteed to be the best investment of your life. You will feel like a different person with a renewed outlook to life and an invigorated attitude towards everyday tasks. You will leave equipped with new tools, able to...
2 weeks later, Miriam has come back from the camp a new person. So, how are you feeling now?
I am happy. I feel fulfilled. I am eating healthy, breathing fresh air, preparing myself to get married and bear children. I also enjoy praying. It gives me joy and purpose. I am happy.
See, I told you now. All you needed was a little TLC. God is good. God is definitely good.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to Mosaic with me, Sarah.
And me, Jenny.
Hope you've all been good. We've been gone for a while as Jenny was in London and busy with her family wedding things. But we haven't been in the same place for long enough to really record our podcast. We did do the throwback podcast about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
In the same room. And that was kind of fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't really plan it either. It was quite spontaneous.
Yeah.
Turned out all right, actually.
That's okay.
But having said that, we've really missed doing it, and we're happy to be back. So talk to me, Jenny, what's new with you?
I'm just settling back into sort of German life, because I was house nanny for about a month, and it was such a different lifestyle as well, because it was literally packed the whole time. There was always people in the house, and you slept like in the room with 4 or 5 people.
Oh no.
Like,
do you like that kind of stuff?
Do you know what? Like throughout I was like, I just need a fucking minute for myself. Just give me some peace. Just me, myself, and I just need to breathe. But now that I'm back home and it's just me, like it's not, I don't live by myself. I do live with my parents, but like it's a completely different feel.
Yeah,
and you do sort of miss that noise, and you do sort of miss just talking to someone and before you go to bed. Like I don't know if you've ever sort of
I quite like having my alone space, really just being on my own, sleeping in a bed on my own. I just really like just silence. I don't really miss noise and like people. I really like the way it is.
Agreed. But there is something quite nice about it, because what we do is like we literally sort of during the day we do like wedding preparations, and then we'd come back, have dinner, have a drink, have a laugh till about midnight, and then we'd like just lie in our respective rooms and just talk about like everything and nothing for like 2-3 hours.
Oh, yeah,
until,
that's
like,
nice.
Until one does off, and it sort of like reminds you like we used to do that quite regularly, because we used to meet up like once a year. Once every 2 years, like all the cousins from all around the world, and just like hang out, and it was just really, really nice to do that again.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that reminds me of like a girl's holiday, when you all stay up talking when you've gone out drinking and stuff.
Yeah.
And like you get back to the hotel and you just talk for ages.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I've always kind of wanted a sister, like an older sister to chill with and talk to.
Yeah.
So I can kind of relate to that feeling.
Yeah. No, it was really, really fun, and I do kind of miss it. But that said, I do like my alone time. I do like having my own room, my own bed, because I hadn't slept in a bed for like about a month.
Oh my god, were you just on the floor on a cardboard sheet?
We were in, my other female cousin and I, we got ourselves a room, and we had the 2 couches, or the sofas. And then whoever wants to, sleep with us in the room, they just put themselves on the floor and sleep. So it was very basic, but it was really, really nice. But
that's nice. Good to be back. Back to reality. Back onto the podcast. Yes.
That's another thing. Like, and I think it fits perfectly into our subject as well. That talking about depression today. It does make me feel so good having these sessions. It gives you like a real purpose in life. I think we've talked about
to do the
before.
podcast. Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. It really does. It kind of like brings out our creative fun side, and we have like a candid conversation where we just get it all out, and it's really cathartic. And it's been good. I've been missing it.
So it's good to be back and doing it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. Today we are back with an uplifting and cheerful podcast for your ears. No, joking. We're talking about depression, guys. How quintessentially British. Now, I really feel like this podcast is kind of fitting to the current mood. And I say that because, we spoke about it before recording the podcast, but I just feel a bit low recently, and I don't know if it's like the mid-year hump, because it's been so long since I went on a proper holiday, and I have like a lack of vitamin D, sorry, not C. But I feel like almost everyone in my life is feeling a bit down or unmotivated.
Yeah.
Is it the same for you?
Yeah, it is. And like definitely myself, my friends, people around me, it's all a bit, I don't want to say dark and gloomy, but there is a change in the general mood.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's weird.
People are just a bit more somber.
Yeah, it's like a seasonal thing.
Maybe it's the fact that, we have, May, and the sun is out today, here in Germany, and people are sort of in the gardens and, you know, doing a barbecue, whatever. But, like, generally it's been quite dark
Yeah.
and rainy.
Yeah, it has. It might be that. I don't know.
And then
it's
also,
weird.
like, just stuff happening in the world, I suppose.
Yeah. Horrible stuff. But then there are people who are completely unfazed. Like, there are people that are just in one constant, like, static mood throughout the whole of their life. It's mainly men as well. They're just kind of like,
I've got a feeling you've got someone
unfazed.
particular in mind when saying that, but do go on.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think, to be fair, a lot of men have to pretend that they're okay. You know, they
This
have
is
the
true.
macho
This is true, yeah.
thing that they need to live up to. But
Yeah.
anyways, let's start the podcast.
Yes, without any further ado, let's get right into 5 and 5. So, do you want to start the questioning?
Yeah, I'll start. So, number 1, what is your earliest encounter of the word depression?
I have to admit that it was really late. It was in my teens, if not the late teens.
Okay.
And for a really, really long time, I didn't really know what that meant. Like, really, really meant. I have to say that, you know, I think we mentioned that before at one point, that living in Germany, you are really, really unwoke, especially like back in the 90s, because I'm a 90s child. Well, I'm an 80s child, but I grew up in the 90s. You didn't really have much discussion around these subject matters. So the word depression was always like associated with something bad, especially growing up in an Asian family.
Yeah.
You don't really discuss these things like depression and mental illness and mental health. And I guess I just had that, well, let's call it fear.
So hold
around
on,
the
if someone
word.
was feeling down, what would they say? I'm just feeling a bit sad, I'm feeling a bit tired, rather than saying I'm depressed.
Yeah, you
would
just,
there be
you're just a bit
an
down.
equal way
Yeah.
of saying it? Okay.
Yeah. Like the word, like until I like got to university, I didn't know anyone who would say, "Oh, I'm depressed." That didn't happen. But sort of going back to my teens, when I was in Germany and sort of I heard that word, I think I just grew up having kind of a fear around that word, which
Okay.
was really deeply ingrained because of my upbringing, because of my Asian upbringing, but also because I just didn't hear it quite a lot. Even
I mean-
yes, go on.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that explains a bit about, you know, a lot of Germans are really unfazed and they're quite cold sometimes.
Just like,
Do you know what I mean?
Part of life, just get
No,
over
it's
it,
like
that kind of-
they kind of just feel like, you know, it's all business. We just carry on as usual.
Yeah.
Just kind of like march on and be
Yeah.
strong about it. That's the impression I get when I think of German people.
Yeah, I think that's an image that Germans do have, and I'm not sure that I do disagree with that. Because being Tamil is very similar to that, or at least in my family, we are quite, not cold, but not as emotionally invested as other certain cultures.
Okay. Emotionally invested, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the word emotionally constipated. I feel like loads of people suffer from that at some point.
That just perfectly sums up who I am.
Okay,
But
so
what was it like in the UK though? Was that different? Were you like aware of that term and of that concept very early on, or?
I feel like, I mean, I'll discuss it a bit more later on in the podcast, but I feel like depression is, it's very mainstream in the UK. It's quite
Really?
popular. Yeah, it's like the norm, it's the usual. And obviously people use the term really loosely. Obviously when I was a teenager, you know, a lot of people said, "Oh, I'm really depressed," or
Kids in your school, like teenagers, said that.
"Oh yeah, yeah."
Shit.
Like from the age of like 12 onwards, it's quite
Fuck
a
off,
popular
that is not
word
true.
to use.
12-year-olds would say that.
I mean, obviously they weren't actually depressed,
No,
but you
no,
know
but-
how spoiled kids say, "Oh, I didn't get this, and I'm really depressed," and I don't know. It's a word that's used quite regularly in the UK.
Okay.
I feel.
I mean, mind you, there is. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it a generational gap, but you are a bit younger than me, so maybe that
Yeah.
is part of it. But it's wow. Okay, yeah, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't hear a lot of 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds here in Germany saying that.
Yeah, and I feel like also there probably were a lot of girls and guys that were actually depressed because of
Okay.
bullying and whatnot. Because a lot of kids did cut themselves when I went to school. you know, stuff that's like to kind of release the pain and the depression.
Yeah.
But anyways, so number 2.
Yes.
What do you think are the different levels of depression in terms of severity
So
that you've heard of?
So bipolar, that's something.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
one of them.
Yeah. Postpartum.
Yeah, that's another one.
And this is another. I didn't know that it was like legit condition. I thought it was just like something that was sort of made up by girls or by boys. PMSing. I thought that was just like a thing, and that's not really a condition, but apparently it is.
It is, yeah, it is.
According to WebMD, and it's called premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD.
Yeah. Hey, hold on a minute. You cheated. You're not meant to look this up. You cheater. No, I'm not going to have anything to come back with. All right,
but that
fine.
was it. Like, these are the only things that I sort of know of or heard of.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, you've got like 3 of them. But yeah, so there's major depression, persistent depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, seasonal affective disorder, SAD, which I've heard of many times, psychotic depression, peripartum, so postpartum depression, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, situational depression, interesting, and then clinical depression. And I've heard clinical depression a lot, but I've never actually known what it is. So clinical depression is apparently the most severe. It's also known as major depression, and it isn't the same as depression caused by a loss such as the death of a loved one or a medical condition. So it's often said to be caused by a chemical imbalance in the brain, and it's what most drug treatments are based on. So it's more of a kind of neurological disorder that's like inherited, I guess. So it's kind of like with the lack of serotonin and all the hormones that are meant to make you happy. And the symptoms include loss of interest or pleasure in your activities, weight loss or gain, trouble getting to sleep or feeling sleepy during the day, feeling restless and agitated, being tired without energy, feeling worthless or guilty, trouble concentrating or making decisions, and thoughts of suicide. Lovely. So number 3, in your opinion, is self-medicating okay? I mean, if it's making you function better, you know, helping you get up in the morning, going to work, and it's numbing your crippling anxiety, why not?
Here's the thing. I'm not going to tell someone who does suffer from, you know, depression to act a certain way, because I can't even imagine how harrowing that must be to like live with such a condition. But that said, I'm not a big fan of self-medicating, just because I feel like you're just treating the symptom and not the root cause.
Yeah.
So the problem is still there. Like, you might be, you know, pumping yourself up with Valium or whatever, but you still have that initial problem that makes you feel this bad. And you might even be getting worse. Like, this self-medication might make it even worse because you're not addressing the actual problem. So again, I won't tell people what to do, obviously, but if you ask for my opinion, which you are, and if you're someone that's really close to me, like if I see like a really close friend doing that, I think I'd step in and be like, you know what, you need to stop this, stop acting foolish and just go see a doctor. Just see a therapist and seek some professional help.
No, absolutely. I mean, also, what is the actual difference between getting prescribed the same medication? So say you get prescribed Valiums or antidepressants and stuff. What is the difference between taking the ones you've been prescribed and self-medicating? Is that kind of going overboard and taking more than you've been prescribed? Is that what self-medication is, basically?
Well, to me, I think self-medicating just means you're just taking, you know, chemicals to numb the anxiety or numb the pain. But I'm guessing if you go seek actual help, you've got therapy, right? You do talk about the problem, you find out what the actual problem is, and you work together with your therapist to...
okay, so self-medicating is when you, like, literally take it upon yourself to diagnose yourself, medicate yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I found, this is quite interesting, I didn't know that food was a form of self-medicating.
What do you mean?
Did you know that? Of numbing the pain. So you know
like
how...
people eat to sort of forget problems.
Yeah, you know, like comfort eating.
Yeah, we do that. You do that. Don't you do that?
So, what, comfort eating?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying I didn't know it was a form of self-medicating.
Oh, is it considered like actually self-medicating?
Yeah, apparently, because I looked it up and it said, so one of them is food, obviously alcohol, psychostimulants, so cocaine and amphetamines, caffeine as well, cannabis, and opiates and opioids. So that's heroin, you know, the strong stuff, codeine, methadone.
Well,
So yeah, I didn't really know food was on.
I mean, I guess obviously drugs, I would have considered that. Alcohol, I also would have considered. But coffee and food, that seems okay.
Yeah. You know, loads of people use coffee to diet. Like, they will just drink black coffee and it will just suppress their hunger. Have you ever tried that diet?
No, but I think, what's his face? The one who played Batman.
Oh, yeah, I know. The cigarette and coffee diet. Wasn't he on that?
No, I think it was the apple and coffee diet. Which
okay.
Yeah. What's his name? This is going to kill me now. Okay. I'll
Google is your best friend.
But yeah, it just sounds like, especially for me, because I can't really deal with a lot of coffee. Like, I get acid reflux, which isn't good for your teeth.
Oh, sexy.
Yeah, just a little info, guys. If you're still interested, mosaic@gmail.com, guys.
Oh, that's a no from me. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting. I think
Christian Bale, sorry, go on.
Oh, that's the name, guys. But yeah, so for me, I think self-medicating, yeah, it's not really great. I mean, I know a few people that do, and I've noticed that they're quite unfiltered and they can be quite mean when they say things to people, and I wonder if that's related to self-medicating. You know, when you just numb yourself to the things that you're saying and you're like, oh, well, I don't care about the consequences, I'll just say whatever. And then they end up being quite mean. And I'm thinking, is that what antidepressants do to you? Is that what Valiums do to you? Just kind of like, it's like a layer of, you know, not giving any fucks.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the chemicals of that antidepressant that you're taking, or whether it's just that mindset of, I just don't give a shit anymore, I don't give a shit. Because there must be a sense of sort of self-sabotage to just not go to a therapist, to just do it yourself, take it up on yourself. So to have that attitude of, I just don't give a shit about me, I don't give a shit about anything else, and that attitude, you know, carries on, and sort of that's how you behave towards others, and you just as you say, you just don't give a fuck anymore about others as well.
But you know what, I feel like sometimes certain people do know what is wrong with them. Sometimes it is okay to self-diagnose, but that's only when, I don't know, some people are really in tune with how they're feeling and what they need to do to make themselves better. And in that case, I think it's okay. But then when it involves, you know, stimulants and drugs, that can be a slippery slope.
Exactly. Yeah, agreed.
But then if it's things like, okay, well, you know I'm feeling a bit down, I probably need to eat more protein and more carbs and, I don't know, regulate my hormones in a natural way, then I think that's fine to self-diagnose in that way. Yeah. But I don't know, each absolutely. To their own.
Like, if the self-medication is just, in inverted commas, stuff like food and you know, exercise, all that kind of stuff, which I do myself, then I think that's absolutely fine. But once it comes to, you know, putting chemicals in your body to sort of change, well, I guess your chemical household, I think the case is different. I think that is a bit more problematic.
Question: do you reckon that occasional weed smoking is okay as a form of stress relief?
Oh, as a form of stress relief? If you hadn't added that part, I would have said yes. But as a stress relief, I don't know. Maybe. But
say you're functioning okay, you go to work, you've got a good job.
Yeah.
You know, you've got good relationships with people. You're doing okay, but then you feel like you have to smoke weed to get to sleep or to relieve yourself from stress and depression, maybe. Is that okay?
If others do it, I don't really give a shit. But if I see someone and he told me this is what he does, then I would definitely get worried, and I'd be like...
As in, if you're dating someone who says that?
Yeah, I'd definitely be like, okay, you probably need to do something else. You need to see someone or go see a doctor, because that can't go on.
Oh, really? Why not? Yeah, is that a deal breaker?
It's not a deal breaker, but it would worry me, because he clearly does have issues why he can't go to sleep, and he does have like that immense amount of stress and pressure on him.
Yeah.
And you know, he just needs to take the edge off. And if drugs, and at the end of the day, it is a drug. Like I'm pro weed, like I am, But
Yeah.
if you need weed or even alcohol, if you need that one beer or glass of whiskey each night to
get
go
to
to
sleep.
sleep, that would worry me.
I think it's just kind of like putting a plaster on it, isn't it? Like the issue is still there, but you're
Exactly.
just putting something over it
Yeah.
just to numb it for a bit, and then
Yeah.
it builds up and it builds up until it just like explodes.
Yeah.
And I've
I
seen
mean,
that happen before.
If you're like, if you've got a good job, if you're functioning and all's good, and you just have a smoke now and then, and I mean a joint, not just a cigarette, that's fine by me. Go for it, knock yourself out. But if you do that because you feel like you have to function, no.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's a fine line with weed though, because a lot of people do have an issue with it, but then because a lot of people around them say, well, it's all right, it's just a casual little smoke and it's not harming anyone, and weed is natural and it doesn't, it's not like cocaine or anything like that. People use that as an excuse to like, as a justification for their weed issue. So it is a very fine line, I feel.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'd rather stay away from it. I'd rather just not do it than do it.
Obviously, I don't do it myself. Obviously.
Oh, of course. Darling, of course. Well, anyways, moving on. So, in your opinion, what are the root causes of depression? Like the main causes that you've heard of?
That I've heard of. I don't really know, man. I think if I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't. I would be out there making bare money and taking advantage of my knowledge. No, but seriously, I don't know. Like, I mean, on one hand, there are people who say that depression is a modern disease. That people back then didn't really have these issues. And that it sort of came with sort of the 21st century and all the modern devices that we have and the sort of the modern lifestyle. I don't know how true that is. So I don't know how true it is to say that depression is a modern disease. That said, there actually are studies that show that the rates of depression have immensely soared in the last few years, especially among teenagers.
Okay.
So basically, I don't know. Maybe it's a lack of communication, lack of feel of community among us, because we are deeply, deeply social animals by nature. We do seek human contact, and although we do have all these fancy new devices to communicate, we hardly ever really do. Like, we hardly ever properly sit down and just have a
I think that's
chat.
a big root cause to like social anxiety.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is getting to the point where people are just communicating face to face is becoming obsolete. People don't really need to do it, which is so sad. I think if someone asked me what the root causes are based on people I've met that have had depression or based on my experiences, I would say childhood trauma is a big one, like a massive one.
Yeah.
And then obviously, as we said before, like a chemical hereditary imbalance, like something that your parents probably have as well, where your hormones are a bit off and you have like lack of serotonin and endorphins and stuff. And grief as well. Like that's more of a situational depression.
Did you say grief?
Yeah. So that's also trauma as well. I think mostly depression comes from trauma, some kind of traumatic event that you went through at some point and it's come back to haunt you, or...
Yeah, no, that's true. Most of the cases where where people around me went through, dark phases was because of shit that happened to them when they were young or, whatever.
Yeah, and then there are things that come up in your daily life that are triggers as well. Like sometimes even a smell or a place that's like, oh my God, I remember when that happened, or a person that did this to me had that colour coat or whatever, I know and it's quite difficult to live with. It says here that depression is more than just feeling down. It's a serious illness caused by changes in the brain chemistry. Research tells us that other factors contributing to the onset of depression include genetics, changes in hormonal levels, certain medical conditions, stress, grief, or difficult life circumstances. Okay, so if you've ever felt down, next question. What are your go-to tips for improving your mood?
I feel like exercise helps me a lot. I do notice that I do feel down when I sort of stop doing certain things, like if I stop eating healthy, if I'm sort of if I don't drink enough water, if there's a lack of exercise and fresh air, then I do get quite down and I get just grumpy.
Yeah.
So doing these things helps me immensely. Another thing that always picks me up is generally just talking, just hanging out with friends. Hang out with friends, going for a drink, just having a laugh, or just like, you know, having like a 2-3 hour chat with one of my friends or cousins, and just, you know, discussing things. So basically human interaction.
Yeah,
which is a big deal for me, because I'm such an introvert, and like I'm one of these people, like if you tell me to sort of, you know, just chill for a few days, I'll just go to sleep, and I don't have like, I read a book or I watch something on telly, and I have like zero human interaction, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Does sleep help you? Because I feel like a lot of people try to sleep off their depression.
Oh no! I don't do that. Well, I don't.
Well, there's sadness.
I do feel grumpy when I don't get enough sleep, but I don't know if. I guess sleeping would help in a way to with your depression, because you're literally not thinking anymore, and you don't. You know, you're not conscious to feel pain or to, you know.
Yeah. That's a common symptom, isn't it? When you sleep a lot, like you try and sleep away the days. I remember watching this film, and this girl went through a massive breakup, and she would just sleep for like days on end. And I guess that's an easy way to just deal with it. It makes the days go faster. But I used to sleep quite a lot, but I think that was a part of being a teenager. And then I grew out of that, and I got really restless.
Really? I still love to sleep. I don't know what that says about me.
Lucky you. But you know what's crazy? I actually remember, like around the time that I got my first period, that's when my moods kind of started to drastically change. And I always remember that day as well, because I remember feeling extremely moody all of a sudden, and I was like, what is actually wrong with me? Because up until then I was like, you know, a happy-go-lucky child. I was just always energetic, always feeling the same. And then I remember that like sudden like slump. It was just really a weird feeling. It was like, oh, what's going on here? I'm not feeling as bright and as happy and as lucid as I normally am. Yeah, it was so crazy. Do you not remember that? Just like a shift in your mood. I think for me it was so sudden that it was just like, what the hell is going on here? It really kind of shook me up a bit.
But then you are someone who's quite affected by your period, like emotionally, whereas I don't. It doesn't really affect me that much, physically or mentally.
Lucky.
What are your tips? What do you do when you feel a bit down?
My tips are
just popping Valium.
Yeah, of course. No, I've never taken antidepressants in my life, even though I have felt really intense anxiety in my life, but I've preferred not to. When I feel that way, I just feel that talking is the main thing. Just getting everything off your chest with someone you really trust. Yeah. Meditation is the one key thing that has literally saved me in the last few months. Like, it's really grounded me. It's really made me feel a lot happier, a lot more calm. And that's a lot to do with breathing as well. Breathing actually helps so much, and people underestimate it. Honestly, it really, really does. There's actually a story about this girl that went to see a gynecologist, and the gynecologist, you know, did whatever she had to do, looked downstairs and whatever. And she was like, when was the last time you actually breathed? And she was like, what do you mean? And she was like, you're very, very anxious, and I can tell just by, you know, looking down there or whatever. And she was like, have you tried to actually breathe, like fill up your lungs and just breathe, and do that for 10 minutes every day? And I swear to God, it will help you. Like, it will help release the anxiety that you have.
Is that what you do when you? Is that what meditating is? Because I'm such an idiot. I genuinely do not know.
Yeah, one of the basic principles of, you know, meditation is just breathing really deeply for 10 minutes, and it makes such a difference. It just sets you off to a good day. It calms you down. It paces you, especially if you're someone who's quite anxious naturally. Yeah, it makes such a difference.
That's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah, or just taking a day off, because I'm an introvert as well. I need to re-energize myself by being on my own, so that helps as well. Alone time. But yeah, that's me.
Cool. Then it's time for my questions. Then you ready?
Hit me.
First one, what is the most realistic portrayal of depression you remember seeing or reading about in a novel, film, or, you know, even like in an online post on the internet?
So I think I have, two come to mind. So as a teenager, I used to read loads of romance novels, like loads.
This is
And
so
a lot
funny.
of...
You mean the ones
Did
like,
you?
where on the cover? No, but do you mean the ones on the cover where you've got like a stable boy?
Yeah.
Did you
like
actually?
some cheesy
Oh my
ass
God, this
picture,
is-
yeah.
Oh my God.
Ever since like I was really, really young, I just used to read loads. And also in Dubai, their library was kind of didn't offer that much. So I just had really cheesy, crappy, censored books. Do you know what I mean? Like soft porn. Like, because everything was really censored. And that was the time I was reading loads as well. So, yeah, and a lot of them used to romanticize depression, actually.
Oh,
like
shit.
a lot of them, yeah. And there was a book called Princess, and it was about a Saudi princess. And she was basically brought up in horrible circumstances, like she was abused, and she wasn't allowed to travel anywhere, and she was trapped in like this house. Anyways, so that was probably the first time I came across, you know, someone being severely depressed in literature. And then secondly, I would say a girl from uni actually posted a blog about her relationship or her journey with depression. And yeah, I mean, I remember reading it, and at first I was like, oh my God, this is a bit too much, a bit too, like, TMI. It was on Facebook, and I was like, no one really needs to know, when I first saw the post. Then I actually read it, and I actually remember feeling quite, kind of like, I don't know, I was kind of like, oh, well done. Like, I relate to a lot of the things she actually says.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a positive thing that she's sharing her story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was a pretty brave thing for her to do. I
Especially
quite
at
like
university, where you're sort of so eager to just please everyone and not offend anyone.
Yeah.
And just, you know,
No,
not
definitely. It was
hurt
like,
anyone.
oh, other people feel this as well.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
gives you some kind of solace. Like, it's quite nice.
Oh,
What do you feel about people posting their things about depression? Because some people take the piss with it, I'm sure. I mean, I don't have Facebook anymore, but I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh God, I lost a chicken wing, I'm depressed, or some stupid shit like that. Like, how would you react if one of your best friends publicly announced it on Facebook but hadn't told you that they were dealing with depression?
Well, that's a difficult question, because I know none of my friends would do that. But I guess if they did, my first reaction would just to be worried.
Would you be offended that they didn't tell you and they told the whole world on Facebook instead?
No, I don't think I've got a place to be offended at that point, because they're dealing with something so dark. So I think I should take a back seat and just listen to their story. But I'd be curious as to why you would make that decision. Why would you go and tell strangers instead of talking to me? Like, what made you make that decision?
I think a lot of people, friends or family, make that mistake. They feel kind of betrayed that the person didn't open up to them. Yeah, they're like, why didn't you open up to me? And you should have told me that you're going through this. And it's not that easy sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes people feel like they want to go through things independently.
Yeah.
And not have to be a burden. But it's all right to open up to people you trust. Why not? You know, friends and family are there through the dark times as well as the good. Not just there when it's all fun and games. Well, anyways, that's what I think they should be there for.
Exactly. But then it'd be a funny thing though to sort of be like, okay, you know what, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to burden you, but let me just go to Facebook and post it so everyone can see it. Like, that would be pretty weird. Like, that'd be one of the instances where I'd be like, okay, you're probably just seeking attention. And it's not a real issue, because if you had a real issue, you'd just deal with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but,
I do.
I guess everyone deals with their pain and deals with their problems a different way, so fair dues, I suppose. Alright, next one. Have you yourself ever sought help or thought that you might need help? Or, you know, basically whatever moments where you thought that you might suffer from depression, or where you might...
So, okay, by help, do you mean therapy or from family and loved ones, or
either?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question. So I have been really, really down after traumatic experiences, which I see as completely normal and common. But me as a person, I am quite neurotic and I'm quite anxious. Well, I was more anxious. Now I've calmed down a bit. But yeah, there were times where I thought, oh, maybe I should talk to someone, but I've never felt extremely depressed or anxious to the point where I feel suicidal. It's always been PMS stuff as well, so I've kind of known that it's been around my period. So I've as I've gotten older, I've known how to regulate it and how to kind of go through the motions as I usually do. Yeah, and just think, okay, well, it's going to get better in a few days. So I've learned to cope with it a lot better. So it is primarily really about that, and I know that it's a physical thing.
Okay.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm a big believer in just helping myself. I like to deal with my own issues on my own, independently. Like, I like to talk about it to my friends, but then at the end of the day, I prefer to deal with it on my own. And also, I tried some herbal supplements from Holland and Barrett's.
We
Shut up. I'm not a weed smoker at all. You know that is not my thing, yeah? And I'm not even joking, that is not my thing. But, not that there's anything wrong with it, but, well, there kind of is. But anyways, so I've tried serotonin supplements and also this thing called Agnus castus, which was given to nuns, apparently, to help keep them chaste.
Oh, okay. What, to suppress their sexual...
Apparently, yeah, it does that. So, I mean, I took them. They didn't really work. It was kind of like a caffeine pill. It just made me kind of hyper. So stopped doing that. And honestly, the only thing that helped with my anxiety was meditation. That's the only thing that I would say is actually foolproof. And yeah, it's helped me the most.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, you are genuinely one of the most in touch people I know, who's like the most in touch with her emotions that I've ever known. Like,
ever known? Ever?
Yeah, like,
wow.
No one, because most people I know are either Germans, or most people are, either Germans or Tamil, or like white English people who are also the same as Germans. Like, they're all emotionally capable. So we just don't talk about emotions. We just don't acknowledge emotions.
Yeah,
we've got a very good long distance relationship going on. Like, with my emotional life. So, like, seeing you just so different.
I know what you mean, though. I mean, I've always been. When something's wrong with me, I'm quite like able to know exactly what it is. Like, I'm like, it's either a physical thing or it's that. And I used to get I was quite sensitive, like, was really, really sensitive before. And that was also a reason why I kind of knew exactly what it was. Because anything that set me off would be like, okay, I know that's what's upsetting me. Maybe I'm meant to be like a witch therapist person. I've always thought that, because someone said to me as well, you're quite in tune with what was it? Oh, it's this weird spiritual lady that said I'm in tune with like energies,
your aura,
and
that,
and auras and things like that. And I was like, oh, am I? Okay, I don't know if that's a good thing, because sometimes I feel like being like that, you can.
A good thing.
No, but you can, when you're quite sensitive, you soak in people's energies quite easily. And you feel quite drained by it. I mean, you said you felt drained by people being around you as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an introvert thing.
It is the introvert thing. I mean, just being drained when being in a human interaction, that is an introvert thing. But I also get drained when I'm, like, around negative people.
Yeah.
It's like,
have you ever felt that? Have you ever felt that? Just really feeling really shit after
like,
spending time with someone?
I know quite a few people who are, like, really negative and just grumpy all the time. And I feel like I'm around a dementor. Do you know what a dementor is?
Yeah, soul sucking.
Yeah, exactly. And it does drain. Does feel like they're sucking the life out of you. You just feel so empty afterwards. So
That
like,
reminds
oh my God,
me
life
of.
is so pointless and what the fuck.
It's horrible, isn't it? It reminds me of this girl that I used to go to uni with, actually. Me and this guy always used to joke about her and say that she was actually like a dementor, like she was a soul vacuum. She would just suck your soul up. Because she was the weirdest person. Having a conversation with her would be like talking into a black hole. It would just, you wouldn't get anything back. And also, it was so weird. She would just deflect everything. So you'd be like, oh, like, I feel really stressed out today because I've got all this coursework to do. And she'd be like, oh, the weather's lovely today. And I just washed loads of dishes and did it. And it's just like, but I just, am I talking to the same person here? Like, it was just a massive disconnect. I don't know. It was strange.
Moving on. What was the next one? Okay. What do you think it's quite similar actually to the one that you asked before. What do you think is the biggest threat right now to people when it comes to their mental health, or their sanity, if you will?
So obviously I think depression is really, really prevalent in the UK. And I say that after having met loads of people, on an international scale. I feel like the kids in the UK are the unhappiest, and they seem to be grappling with like some kind of, broken background or bullying, just, trauma that's really bruised their mind. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with loneliness. And, like, hurt people. So it's kind of like a cycle of like pain, and
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know, the UK can be quite a dark, gloomy place sometimes. And I think it's loads of contributing factors. So the fact that depression is mainstream. You see, you know, a lot of people talk about suicide and depression, and it's quite romanticized on social media and, you know, TV programs and stuff like that. And I think there just needs to be a change of socialization. So there needs to be a new message which kind of encourages people to just be young and like extend their kind of childhood days. I feel like kids want to grow up really, really fast.
Yeah, that's true.
That's another issue. And I think it's fine to reassure kids that enjoying life is fine. Being a kid is fine. It's not always a rat race. It's not always about being successful. And sometimes it's just about enjoying life, like past the survival thing. Like
That
it's
is
fine
so
to just
true,
be happy.
yeah.
And there's too much pressure and just emphasis on competing, and it's just too much anxiety for me.
Yeah.
And like, it's too much. Yeah.
But that's another thing it's just so different in Germany. Like over there in the UK, everyone, you know, once they finish school, most kids go to tuition or extracurricular activities, and like their days they're like 12-year-old, 10-year-olds, so their days are packed until like 7 p.m. That would be unthought of here in Germany. Like you finish school at like 1 p.m. and then you just play because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So whenever I sort of talk to my cousins in the UK and they were like, "Oh, I've got tuition," I'd be like, "Wow, you're already like an A-star student. Why the?"
It's really sad, and like, I had some family friends come over, and the kids were really stressed out. Like they're only in year 6, so they're about 10. And they were really stressed out because they have their SATs coming up. And you could just tell, like, the kid, like, normally when she comes over, she's really, like, you know, playful. She's like, "Can I play with your makeup and your nail varnish and blah, blah, blah." But this time she was just really anxious. And I was like, "Are you okay? You're acting quite different. Like, are you all right?" And she was like, "No, I'm really anxious about my SATs." And just the fact that she knows what being anxious is quite worrying. And she's only 10. And I was like, it's fine. Like, it's fine, you'll do fine, you know, SATs aren't even, they're kind of piss easy anyways, like, you know, you're a kid. I was like, it's fine, you'll be all right, like, there's no need to worry. But I think there's so much competition in London that's like a primary worry for kids, which it shouldn't be. Who gives an F? Like, honestly. Run over. Kids don't go to school, just run out and be wild and free. Man.
Just become a YouTuber or something, it's fine.
Yeah.
Or become a hooker.
Oh God,
there's
no.
always money and sex. Don't do that.
Oh my God. Don't listen to Jenny. She's a witch. Oh my God.
Okay,
Evil.
moving on. Maybe related, maybe unrelated. You know, when I knew that we're going to do this podcast on depression, it reminded me of this one Louis C.K. Bit he did. I think it was like an interview or a gig.
I was in my car one time, and a Bruce Springsteen song comes on. And I heard it, and it gave me kind of like a fall back to school depression feeling. It made me really sad.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, I'm getting sad. I got to get the phone and write hi to like 50 people. Anyway, I started to get that sad feeling, and I was reaching for the phone, and I said, you know what, don't. Just be sad. Just let the sadness stand in the way of it, and let it hit you like a truck. And I let it come, and Bruce, and I just started to feel, oh my God. And I pulled over, and I just cried like a bitch. I cried so much, and it was beautiful. It was like this beautiful, it's just this, sadness is poetic. You're lucky to live sad moments. And then I had happy feelings because when you let yourself feel sad,
yes,
your body has like antibodies. It has happiness that comes
rushing in to meet the sadness. So I was grateful to feel sad, and then I met it with true, profound happiness.
Thoughts?
I think I'll probably I'll answer that with another profound cheesy quote.
Mm-hmm. Some quotes.
So I feel like, I think I've said this to you before, but you know, the sweet is never sweet without the sour. And I've found that to be so true. Like, you need to suffer and feel the darkness and feel, you know, the crappy moments to really enjoy the good. Sometimes you just need to get it all out.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, made peace with it,
yeah,
you enjoy the ups so much more.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, even with me, I used to be such a melancholic person. Like, I used to enjoy feeling sad sometimes. But now that I'm over it, I'm like, my God, the updates feel so sweet and so good.
Yeah. Because you said earlier that people who do who just have one mood throughout their whole lives, and they just sound so awful. Just feeling mediocre throughout your whole life. Like, fair enough, you don't have any downs, but then you don't have any proper ups as well.
Yeah,
you've got nothing
that's
to
true.
compare it to. I do agree that there is something very poetic about sadness. I mean, there's something very cathartic about just crying. I personally find that crying really helps.
Oh,
like,
God,
just
yeah,
even watching like some film or like reading a book or reading a poem that's really sad and makes you cry. Afterwards, you just feel cleansed.
You do. It's like a wash. Like you're washing your insides.
All your sins away.
All your sins away, yeah. God forgive me. But yeah, sadness is definitely a process. I feel like the first step is acknowledging it. Then you embrace it. Then you kind of work with it. And then you heal it by crying or whatever. And then when you're ready, you let it go and you make peace with it.
Exactly.
Okay, so first of all, I want to talk a bit about the NHS and what they do, what they offer, basically. So I had a little research into it, and they have these mood assessments. So you go onto it, and it's kind of like a preliminary test to see what kind of, how severe your depression is, if you need to come in, if you need to get assessed further and stuff like that. So, it says here, we can all feel low, anxious or panicky from time to time. Check your mood using this simple questionnaire and get advice on what might help. So it says you might find that your mood usually goes both up and down. So use this questionnaire to monitor it over time. But remember, it's not intended to replace a consultation with a GP if you are struggling. So I've spoken to people who have gone to these NHS therapists. Okay. And I've kind of got two polar opposite kind of feedbacks, responses. So the first person who had a bad experience, she said that she went for one and then she never went back, and that was because for her it was quite pointless, and she felt that talking about things that happened to her made it even worse. It was kind of like digging up the past, bringing out the old skeletons, and it was too much for her to bear. And also, I think she got over it. Like, she's fine and she's happy now. And she dealt with it in her own way. But for her, it didn't really work. Yeah. And maybe that's also because she doesn't really like opening up that much. But that's fair. Some people just, it doesn't work for some people.
Yeah, like we said, like certain things work for certain people. So,
Exactly, yeah. And then the other person who went said that she went for a few sessions and it really helped her. But she felt like they kind of shooed her away, and that might have something to do with the fact that they're saving costs, and So I mean, I'd like to hear from someone who's gone to private therapy, like an actual psychologist, and whether the experience is a lot better. I'm guessing it probably is. So there you go. Those are the two experiences. I mean, what's it like in Germany? How is the health sector? Do they deal with that in any certain way, or?
To be honest, I have no idea.
Fair.
Because I literally don't know anyone. Because it's not very common here that people either self-diagnose or just are diagnosed with depression. It happens very rarely, or at least in my environment, it happens very, very rarely. So I don't really know anyone who's sort of been through that. I know people who should have probably seen a doctor at some point, but they never did.
Okay, I mean, I get the impression with Germany that it's not people it might actually not be people, faking that they're fine, and, like it's all business as usual, but it might actually be the fact that people are generally maybe happier. Like, there's more of an emphasis on family life, social life. People are just doing things that make them happier rather than, being in a rat race where they're not really nurturing their soul.
Completely agree. Like, our lifestyle here is completely different to that in the UK, and the values are very different as well. I feel like I know a lot of people in the UK, or particularly in London, people who don't really spend a lot of time with their families, or who rarely see their families, although they live in the same city, and that's very unusual. Like, for me as an Asian, that's very unusual, but also for me as a German, that's very unusual, because we do put premium on family life and on sort of friends and sort of just social lives. Whereas I feel like in London that mostly just consists of after work drinks and just
Yeah,
getting pissed, which
London
isn't
life is
really a
sad.
social life, is it?
No, it's very, very lonely. And that leads me on to this thing that I heard. Do you know Professor Green, the rapper?
Yes,
Yeah.
He did a documentary a few years or a few
He
months
did, yeah. I wanted to talk about that a bit, but now that you bring up the drinking social life aspect, he basically said nowadays people talk about the sesh life and getting on it, so drinking drugs, and everyone is frightening. It's not at all right. I've sat in rooms with people before having fun, in inverted inverted speech marks, but no one's happy. Then you realise that you're in the same room as well. So there came a point this year when I just cut everyone off. I started going home early. I don't really want to be on my own, but I'd rather that and try and be okay with my own company.
Yeah.
And it's true, you're in a room with loads of fucking unhappy people.
Yeah.
And it's just like, let's just drink and numb the pain, and like it's just constant, like just doing things that aren't really that good for you to just put a plaster on it.
Yeah.
I
found that because I initially just thought it's just me getting old, but at uni I really used to like going out and like going for drinks with friends.
Yeah.
But when I moved to London, I really didn't enjoy it. Like I'd just be standing in a room with co-workers or whatever, and I'd just be like, I'd rather just go home and finish watching that show. And I thought I put it down to just me getting old and just me being an introvert, but
yeah. I mean,
it's
don't get
not,
me
like-
wrong. It can be nice with the right people. But
exactly
it's just...
with the right people and with who are sort of in the right frame of mind. But when it comes to after work drinks, they're mostly not in their right frame of mind. They're not happy people. Not that they're not all unhappy. I'm not saying they're all deeply unhappy with their lives, but it's just a complete different aura and complete different sort of.
It is. Because once people have had a drink, they like to spout some venom and like
Exactly,
release all
that
the
as well.
poison within.
Or sort of show off or something, and it's just like I can't. Yeah,
it's not nice, and you can just see through it. It's like these people just aren't happy. But back to like life in Europe, that's just that's the kind of life I aspire to. Even though I am a Londoner through and through, that's the kind of life I would want to live one day, and my kids to live as well. More of like, you know, the continental family. Community-based life. I think that's healthy, and people live longer. You know, well, it's been proven that people
especially
live
for
longer
you
living that life.
who sort of who comes from a Sudanese and Italian background. For you, it must be because you know firsthand whenever you do go back to Italy. I remember when you went back to Italy, you were like, oh my god, that lifestyle is just so amazing. You were so impressed.
Yeah. And it's not even like a crazy clubbing like fun lifestyle. It's just simple, but it's like
just like, oh, people are actually having fun and they're smiling. I can't believe it.
Yeah, like people are just nice to each other, and London lacks that a lot. I mean, London has amazing opportunities, and it's great for like the cosmopolitan life. So many things to do, but then when it comes down to it, people are just unhappy.
Yeah,
like through and through, which is quite sad. But there you go.
There you go.
Okay, so moving on to men and depression. So have you ever met a man that is depressed or has told you openly that they're depressed or feeling sad?
Yes, I have. I have met several men where I thought, okay, you definitely need to see a doctor because you're not okay. But I think I've only met one person who's openly acknowledged that they have a lot of issues. But that said, that person, didn't really seek any professional help as far as I know. Like, his approach was self-medicating as well. And for the rest, they're just like really oblivious to what's happening to them. I think for a lot of people, it's just their way of life because they just, they think that's how life works. And, tough tits, you're not happy, whatever, just move on with your life. But they are actually deeply, deeply unhappy and just grumpy and it's those dementors that I was mentioning earlier. But no, it is very rare to see a man sort of
quite
fess up
down,
to that.
yeah.
No,
that's true.
no, it's not. I don't think it's rare to see a man who's down. I think it's rare to see a man fess up to that. I think women, I'm not saying have it easier, but it's more often that women, when they get together, when they have a girls' chat, just to be like, oh, I'm so depressed, I'm so unhappy. It's more acceptable for a girl to say that than for a man.
No, that's true. A lot of men just have to get on with it. I have spoken to guys about it, and they say, oh, obviously, because I am a man, I feel like I need to kind of put my clothes on, go to work, get on with it, and just carry on living life and just pushing it away from my thoughts. But Professor Green, basically, I don't know if you watched the documentary about
It was really harrowing, wasn't it?
It was, and he talked about suicide, and he said it's a genetic thing. Like, his dad committed suicide, and he feels really depressed. And he's now the face of a campaign called Calm. So it's a campaign against living miserably. That's what it stands for.
Campaign against living miserably. Okay, yeah.
And it's an award-winning charity dedicated to preventing male suicide. So I think I saw an advert for it once, and it was literally like a big orange poster, and it said Calm, and then it had a man on it and nothing else. And I was like, oh, I'm intrigued. What is this about? Googled it, and apparently it saves loads of lives. I don't know what they do exactly, but yeah, I guess it's a pretty
Don't know what they do, but there you go. Professor Green, Calm, yeah.
Well, I'm on their website, and they've got like a few helplines. They've got a web chat as well, and what else do they have? So apparently in 2015, 75% of all UK suicides were male, so that is the majority actually.
Shit, okay.
That's true though. When you hear about suicides, it is mainly men. It is actually. It actually is. That's probably got something to do with having to suppress a lot of negative feelings and stuff.
Say. You know what this reminds me of? Probably very off topic. Have you seen? I think it was a Vogue cover that Brad Pitt was on.
Oh yes, was that recently?
Yeah, I think it was quite recently.
Yeah. About his divorce.
Exactly. Yeah. But people were like going crazy because it was. I've never seen a cover like that because it was literally like pictures of him like with tears in his eyes and very vulnerable, which you just don't freaking see very often. Especially not of men in the limelight. Someone like Brad Pitt, who's such a high caliber A-list star, for him to sort of be photographed like that on such a high profile magazine. I think there is more and more discussion around it. There's more acknowledgement that men, and why wouldn't they, but that men can also suffer from depression or any form of mental illnesses. But I think we do have a long way to go.
No, we do. I felt really bad for him because he was saying that he doesn't remember a time when he wasn't smoking weed or when he didn't have a blunt or a bottle of whiskey or whatever, and he was like, I could drink a Russian under the table. That's how bad it got at one point.
Really?
And and I felt quite bad for him because obviously being in the limelight is freaking hard. I'd probably be an alcoholic if I was famous. I'm not gonna lie. Like that stuff is grafting. Like imagine just completely having the limelight on you from the age of about, I don't know, when did he get famous? Like in his teens, right? Probably. So that's pretty hard. But he was saying it's not until he started his family that he cut out the weed but just carried on drinking. But yeah, poor man. He's gorgeous though. I'll take you, Brad Pitt. He's so
Moving
gorgeous.
Into
like
subtle objectification, he's so gorgeous though.
Yeah. On to pressing matters. Vanity.
He's never
and beauty.
been my cup of tea. Never really done it for me.
I like a sad man. With some character.
You do like a man with issues, don't you?
I do. I actually
Damaged
do.
goods.
Oh god. Anyways,
Looking
moving
for
on.
mint criteria must be damaged goods.
Oh my god. Poor me. God help me. But anyways. Also, this is quite funny. So, have you heard of postnatal depression in men?
No, how does that make sense? They're not carrying.
I know. So apparently it's a really serious condition.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not. I actually laughed when I read this as well. It even has a Wikipedia page. That's how serious it is.
Now that okay.
Wiki doesn't lie. Okay, so it's long-term consequences for a man, his child, and entire family when you basically suffer from just feeling anxious after your partner's given birth. So you feel like your old life is gone. And you just feel depressed, basically. Don't know about that one.
I really don't know about that one. Oh my god, that just sounds like something.
And it's most probably based on selfish thoughts, like, oh, I don't have my single free life anymore. I'm so
and
depressed.
My wife won't let me touch her because she's, she's unhappy with the way she looks, or she's suffering from postnatal depression, and I don't have my young sexy wife anymore. She's got stretch marks, and oh my god, like that kind of. Okay, I don't know. Like, it might be a serious thing, but I genuinely can't take it seriously.
I know, me too. Me too. Because, I mean, you know, baby blues are a serious thing. Like, your hormones are all over the place. You've just given birth to this massive thing. You don't feel like yourself. For a woman, like, definitely.
Absolutely, exactly. Because
And
your
for a
body
man
undergoes a massive, massive change within just 9 months. Like, you're actually creating a new life. What has the dude got to be depressed about? Or what?
I know. They should call it something different. Like, I don't know, like selfish dad syndrome or something. Like, don't you think? Not freaking like postnatal. It's just like trivializing
it shouldn't
the
be
thing.
postnatal because it's, no, I do agree. Yeah,
But yeah,
I'm
that's
not
a bit of a funny fact.
Ugh. But sort of going back to mental illness in South Asian culture, you know, I think when you sort of talk about mental illness in Asian culture, there's a lot of ignorance, and you know, there isn't a lot of people that are able to, you know, fess up to that. But if you do, very common phrases that you hear is, "Oh, just snap out of it. It's all in your head. Just think happy thoughts. You're young. What do you have to be depressed about? You just, you know, exaggerating." These kind of reactions. But I think that's because there is very little education and knowledge about it. And you mentioned earlier, what if we lived in a world where we wouldn't have a word for depression? And actually in South Asia, or at least in Indian languages, there actually isn't a word for depression.
No way.
There isn't a word for mental illness. And I think that goes along, that plays a huge, huge role into why people in that culture don't understand what's going on, because to them, whenever they want to talk about it, whenever their kids talk about it, they have to borrow English words.
Yeah.
So for them, it instantly becomes an English disease, a Western disease. So it becomes something that is not natural, that's not there, and that's just made up by the West. And I think that's one of the big problems that I see. You know, there's a lot of people sort of in my parents' generation that don't acknowledge it and that look down on that, and you know, there's a lot of old stereotypes about people with mental illnesses, you know, and you're not supposed to have these, because one of the reasons is because whether you're a woman or a man, having mental illnesses, it makes you, it's a defect.
Yeah, it's a flaw.
So
it's
instantly, exactly, it instantly makes you
weak.
But it also makes it, especially in a culture that you know has historically worked with arranged marriages, it makes you a not very good prospect. So it heavily decreases your chances of ever getting married. If you have a mental illness, no one's going to marry you if you have depression, because you're a mental case. That's what you are. You're a nut case. You belong in an asylum. That is the conclusion for a lot of people. But I think that it's brought on because they just don't know the nuances of mental illness. They don't know how it works. They don't know that it's not just feeling sad, but that there's a chemical imbalance in your brain. You can't just think happy thoughts and be done with it. That's not how it works. So a lot of it comes down to education, which then, you know, comes down to just introducing a vernacular that acknowledges that.
No, I think it is really important to do that. And I saw this thing on BuzzFeed, I don't know if you saw it, but it's what it's like explaining depression to your Asian parents, and it could be used for like Arab parents and African parents as well, like ethnic parents basically. But this girl saying, I think I'm depressed, and the mum's like, what do you have to be depressed about? You're pretty and smart. And have you heard that before? People saying that to people, like, you've got everything, you're pretty and you're smart, and it's like, it's not about that. Like, I'm feeling a certain way, I don't really know why, but it's got nothing to do with my exterior, and like everything might be okay, but I'm not feeling okay for some reason. So yeah, and it has other things as well, like I can't even bring myself to get out of bed in the morning. Oh, don't be so lazy and lifeless, lying there all day won't help.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of parents have that attitude. It might just be like an old school thing as well, not even a cultural thing. But then at the same time, there has to be a balance, because I feel like, obviously what I was saying before with the word depression being a lot more mainstream, you can kind of enable it and just make it a bit like, you know, easy to use. It's like the first word that you use when you're feeling remotely sad, and then it's too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, there has to be a balance, and there has to be like, because a lot of kids just use it when they don't get their way. It's like, honey, If you were really depressed, you'd be like, you know, broken. So yeah, it's not something to be used lightly. But
no, it's not.
I think
no,
it's
no,
yeah,
it's
it is
definitely
important to put it into dialogue at least, and just have it out there and have it, you know, something that's easy to talk about. It is quite
Exactly.
important to do that. But I think generally it's just good to have a balance, like not kind of encourage kids to be too pro depression and too kind of like.
But you know what? I think kids generally, like, I don't want to sound like one of these old person and be like, oh, kids these days, oh my god. But I do feel like kids these days are so freaking entitled. And like, because it's not just, and they just don't know how to sometimes use words. Like, we live in a world where everything's amazing and mind-blowing, but no one's really happy.
That's true.
Like, the smallest thing could happen. You're like, oh my god, this is the best thing that ever happened. And, you know, something bad could happen. Oh my god, I could die. I literally need to kill myself.
I know.
It's like, just fucking relax yourself. Like,
I know,
why are you going so off the wall about these small things and just... You're just
what I mean,
creating drama out of nothing because you want to have something to talk about because you need to be relevant.
Yeah. Basically, just get off your phones and start fucking living life and talking to people and going out there and just... I think technology has a lot to do with it. It's just like everyone is just so socially anxious and just so like comfortable in their little bubbles, and that everything makes them frightened or scared, and it's like, I don't know, people aren't really living the best kind of life they could live, which is sad. But I don't know.
At the same time, I wouldn't. But at the same time, I think we just need to just focus on our children and sort of... Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we are bringing up our children, right? So I think we need to step up our game as well. And just sort of, you know, take some responsibility and just sort of teach them about that. You know, teach them... I think that's the main thing, you know, when we talk about different cultures, different generations, we just need to teach them. But I think if people actually took the time, parents or educators... and taught them about depression, taught them about what it is, how we can counteract it. Kids also would have, not just kids, but everyone would have a better understanding of it, and that just help.
That's true.
Help
That's
the overall
definitely
situation, you know?
Yeah. So to kind of wrap things up, do you have any kind of words of, like, positive words?
Words of wisdom.
Share? Words of wisdom. Pearls of
share.
wisdom, darling. Anything at all.
Breathe in and breathe out, guys.
Your gynecologist will see that shit, so breathe.
I guess one thing, I think you were the one who told me that, which I thought was really nice, is be nice to yourselves, and that will lead you to be nice to others.
Yeah, everything else follows, yeah.
And I think that's a really good motto to live by, especially when it sort of comes to mental health.
Aww.
Take care of yourself, and then I think the rest will follow, as you said. Because I think you need to be in a good place just by yourself. I think there's no point in sort of you trying to please others. You know, you don't want to inconvenience others or all that stuff. But actually, deep inside, you're just truly, truly unhappy with who you are. I think there's no point in that. I think the focus should be on you at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it will just be you.
Exactly, yeah.
So just be good to yourself and...
Yeah, sorry, that reminded me of this guy was talking about just like happiness and being happy with yourself and stuff, and he's like a famous author, and he was talking about he was like, oh, when I'm happy with myself and I'm at peace with myself, I don't feel like telling the tourists to fuck off, like on the tube. And when I heard that, I was like, what the hell? But he's like such a peaceful guy as well, so to hear that come out of him. But he was like, when I'm at peace with myself, I'm more understanding and patient, but when I'm angry at myself and I don't really like myself, I'm more likely to just snap at people and be mean and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, definitely agree with that one.
What about you? Any wise words for our listeners?
Well, yeah, I would probably say what you said, but adding to that, I'd also say just remember that feelings are temporary, and like even the worst kind of feelings get better. Like, you know, we're ever changing. Today we might feel, yeah, exactly, things might be absolutely crap today, but next week you might feel on top of the world. So situations are constantly changing. I mean,
give
look
up.
at me. I was the grumpiest person in the world, and now I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
just
a
look at Sarah.
bloody
She used to be such
oracle.
a sad fuck, man.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, hope people can take something away from the podcast.
Yeah, hopefully we gave some people some food for thoughts, and maybe some others the courage to maybe
Reach out and talk to people you love
Yeah.
and trust. That helps, man.
yeah, exactly.
Get it all out and don't be
Just
embarrassed.
talk. And
'Cause they've
even
probably
if
been
that's
through
like
it.
to yourself, if you want to like keep a diary, I think that's, you know, a lot of people find that helpful as well, to sort of keep a diary or do like voice memos.
Yeah.
Just get it off your chest. Just don't
Yeah.
keep a bottle in because you just explode.
Exactly. Yeah. And don't feel guilty for enjoying yourself. Like, joy and fun is a good thing.
Yeah, and at the same time, don't feel guilty about feeling sad.
Yeah.
You know, I think we should be allowed to embrace sadness along with happiness, because, you know, we are humans. There's ups and downs, and that's how life works.
Exactly.
And, you know, we shouldn't be expected to always be cheerful and bubbly. And if someone tells you to, tell them to fuck off.
Exactly.
But yay, there you go.
Wow, that was a very cheerful, uplifting podcast. God damn. New woman
Yeah, man.
now.
You always know that you're in for a good laugh with Jenny and Sarah, man.
I'm going to have to do a 2-hour meditation session after this. Bloody hell. This
You
took
know
it out
what?
of me.
Like, you've been talking about meditation so often, like over the past few podcasts, but also like, you know, on our private chats. I might actually give it a shot. Like, I do feel a bit anxious the past few
Yay.
days, so I might
Oh.
actually give it a shot. Like, whenever I did try it, like, I do yoga, but that's different from meditation, I think. But whenever I did try yoga, because you said that you do it before you go to bed, and whenever I did, I just fell asleep.
Yeah, but that happens to me a lot. But
Oh
at least
shit,
you're-
does it? Okay.
Yeah, at least you're doing it. You know what? I do a lot of guided meditation, so I listen to things as well as
Yeah, you said that. I tried that. I just
yeah.
can't do it. They just annoy the shit out of me. They're like, and now you remember, and now you shut up.
You need to find someone who doesn't annoy you. Trust me, it took a while because I kept listening to people and I either couldn't take them seriously or they just pissed me off.
Yeah.
So it took a while to find someone I actually liked, and I found this like I think he's like this German. Is he German? No, he's Swiss. I think the Swiss guy, and his voice is so relaxing, and I've just stuck to it ever since. And I'm like, yeah,
And
this
now
works for me, honey.
you relax. Breathe in and breathe out.
Fuck off, yeah. It's worked for me, so shut up. But yeah, no, yeah, I would recommend it, but just do it consistently. I think that's the key to it. Like, if you do it once or twice, it won't really work as much. Like, try and do it for like a week consistently. But I don't know. Different things work for different people. So
Exactly, yeah. But I might give it a shot. But it's yeah. Well, I think that's it for today. We need to wrap it up now. You've listened to us for long enough about these beautiful, uplifting things. So thanks for tuning in today. Next
Thank you, guys.
week you will when you will tune in, if you will tune in, hopefully when you will tune in, you will be hearing us talk about sex and sexuality. Sex and sexuality. Yes, indeed, it's getting very saucy. So do tune in. And until then, if you've got any questions, any queries, any ideas for subject matters, anything that you would like us to discuss, you can email us at mostmosaic@gmail.com. Or
Yes.
you can alternatively follow us on Twitter, which will be blowing up because we're sort of working on our social network presence
yeah,
right now. You can follow us at mostmosaic_. No.
Most_Mosaic.
Exactly, it's that one.
Follow us, guys. We're entertaining. We promise. We're
Exactly.
gonna be a lot better on Twitter
listen,
now.
like, and subscribe, as they say. Thanks again for listening, guys.
Thank you. See you next week. Or in
See
2
ya.
weeks. Bye.